560 The Answer.
Let freedom ring this afternoon at 2 with Sean Hannity, right before Joe Walsh at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Have you seen the documentary Generation Wealth? It's on Amazon. It's very good. Lauren Greenfield is the documentarian, and it tracks like 25 years of her work. She's a photographer by training and documentarian more recently. It tracks 25 years of her growing up in a rich area of California and sort of where are they now, her friend circle, and how the culture that she grew up in a rich area of California seems to have enveloped sort of the nation as a whole, this wealth at all costs and wealth as a way to override the system in terms of any rules of the game. I mean, isn't that what we're talking about largely with this college admission scandal, right? You can pay your way around the rules, around the rule of law, as it were. Here's the trailer for that Generation Wealth to give you a flavor.
If I want to work 100 hours a week and never see my family and die at an early age, that's my prerogative.
I would have money as big as this worm in case it.
33 pounds of gold and diamonds given to me by superstars of the world.
I love money. Come to me.
I've been a photographer for 25 years, with my lens focused on wealth. I noticed that no matter how much people had, they still wanted more. I want to figure out why our obsession with wealth has grown. It seemed to be a shift in the American dream.
I know the names of the Kardashians better than I know the names of my neighbors.
This fictitious lifestyle fuels this sense of inadequacy.
I have the classic Birkin in almost every color.
The bags start $20,000, go up.
I realized wealth was much more than money. It was whatever gave us value. Fame, sex, even plastic surgery for dogs.
It's kind of like the end of Rome. Societies accrue their greatest wealth at the moment that they face death.
If you look great and you have a nice car, I'm all for it. But at the expense of what?
You sell your soul to the devil.
You're so hungry for it, you're blinded.
I am on the FBI most wanted list. All of us are following a toxic dream.
If you think that money will buy you anything and everything, you've never, ever had money.
Dollars, dinero, money is what it takes.
Wow, that was mesmerizing.
It's a very good documentary, and isn't that what this is about? Buying your way into Stanford or Georgetown. That's buying status for your kids. It's buying them into a network. It's not about learning. It's not about the English lit professor at Stanford is so much better than the one at
USC.
Well, or
which you don't think is a accredited university.
Or Indiana University, say, or Purdue. The engineering professor at Yale is so much better than the engineering professor at U of I. No, it's about status and networks. It used to be also about a marriage, right? Finding your life partner. Right. That's less so the case.
MRS degree.
But that Generation Wealth piece of it, that folds right into what we're talking about with this admission scandal. And to further our discussion, we're pleased to be joined again by Michael Rectenwald. He's a retired professor at NYU. He's the author of a number of books, including Springtime for Snowflakes, Social Justice and Its Postmodern Parentage, and an upcoming book, Google Archipelago, The Digital Gulag and the Simulation of Freedom. Professor, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me again. Appreciate having me. Being on.
Yeah, it's great to have you. How do you come to this admission scandal? What are the takeaways for you?
I mean, it's absolutely no surprise, and I think the first thing I thought was there's probably another 100, 200 companies doing the same thing, actually going so far as to write the students' admissions essays, doing all kinds of things. any kind of advantage. I was surprised at the bribery, direct bribery. That sort of surprised me. Although I know that there are calls made, there are promises of donations and things like this. And as I saw my student body change, the composition of the student body that I taught changed over the course of 25 years. I noticed it going from, basically a cross-section of Americans and international students to the creme de la creme, the rich across the world. Basically, that was the student body that I was teaching. They were just the richest kids in the world.
Were you ever?
That's all that distinguishes them.
Were you ever approached by anybody, or any of your colleagues approached by anyone?
To do what?
To fraudulently admit somebody or treat a student different or give them different grades or anything such.
Never. I was never asked to do that by a parent or anything. I've had students make outrageous petitions, but never a parent has approached me that way. I've had students try to do do anything to get their grades up, beg, borrow, whatever they could do. They would try, and some of them went outlandish lengths to try to get you to persuade you to do something. Meanwhile, the grades are inflated grossly in the first place. I mean, today a D is really a B plus now. Really? A D is a B plus, or even an A minus. If a student gets less than an A minus, what you're going to have to deal with as a professor is a fight. And the dean is going to get involved, and they're going to complain, and there's money on the line, and you're going to lose. So what happens is that the professoriate has just basically automatically inflated the grades. The grade standard is worthless. I can't believe it. I went to university in the 80s, and compared to what it was like then and what it's like now, an A meant an A. An A now means anything from a C to a D. Wow. It's that bad.
Well, so here I'm going to go back to the straight up bribery and the faking participation in athletics and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I was struck by that too. The inartfulness of it from otherwise sophisticated people. And does that speak to does the brazenness just speak to a need to not that you don't need to be artful? That can we just cut through it? I'm not going to endow a chair in the psychology department or put my name on a building, underwrite the construction of a building. Just here's $400,000 to the soccer coach. My kid's a soccer player. Now he's in it. Now he or she is in at Yale. Let's just cut to the chase because this is the way it's done.
Yeah, I mean, I was really kind of surprised about that aspect. And one of the other things I used to always talk to my students about is plagiarism. Do you have any pride in yourself at all that you would pass off somebody else's work as your own? I mean, that is, it's pathetic in the sense that it shows a complete disbelief in yourself and a complete lack of personal integrity.
Well, because
but it happened all the time.
Because you're not.
I had students I asked to summarize an essay. The student actually handed in the essay that I asked them to summarize and put the name on it as if it was their own.
There's the summary.
It's an answer. Wow.
Well, but that's the point. It's the point that Olivia Jade, Lori Loughlin's kid, made. I mean, in a moment of honesty. Look, I'm not going to USC to get an education. Right. I'll go to class around my work schedule.
Go to the parties, the football games.
Yeah, and so I'll get the degree. I can sign up for some half-assed poetry classes or whatever. Right. Get any major. It doesn't matter. I just need the credential.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and the sense of entitlement is incredible. I had a student once who actually missed a lot of classes and every appointment with me as well. And right in front of the rest of the class, he asked me, "Do you mind giving me a wake-up call before the next class?"
No.
And I said, I couldn't believe it. So, what do you think I am, a concierge service?
Yeah.
And the rest of the class was falling on the floor laughing. It was so absurd.
Yeah.
But he was serious.
So it's that sense of entitlement.
This is how far they go in terms of being entitled and thinking that this is just an automatic, basically pay for grades.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe a continental breakfast too in the
exactly.
classroom.
Can you
kind of ease into the day.
I'll come over and I'll wake you up. I'll bring some coffee.
So, when did you retire as a professor from NYU?
January 10th this year.
Do you miss it
and,
at all?
I retired on good terms, but we did have some issues. You can look it up, and I can't say anything about it.
Well, I'm
going to Google it now.
I was a very fierce critic of things, and that didn't go over well.
If you wrote a book called Springtime for Snowflakes, I could see where you'd run into some problems with the...
It's all in there.
Yeah.
It's all, the first two chapters tell you the whole story of why I am not at NYU.
Do you think that NYU is a school with a reputation? That's a credential school. That's a profile school, right? That's a network you want to break into, like some of these other.
It's a very highly. It's a very prestigious school.
Yes.
No question.
Right, and like these other schools involved in the scandal. Do you think that this scandal will start to tarnish the reputations and maybe open some eyes about just how unprestigious some of these schools are in terms of the substance of the education they deliver, or everybody's just bought in and it's about the credential and getting into the right law firm or whatever, and the reality on the ground in Palo Alto or New Haven doesn't matter?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's going to happen, and I can't speak about NYU in particular, in general, I think what you'll see is a lot of defensiveness and a lot of denial on the part of these these elite institutions. They'll go into denial and so on and so forth. The ones who will admit to a problem and do some self-criticism and assessment will be the survivors, I think. There won't be...
Oh,
Dun, 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 bam.
The NYU administration got to him finally. Shouldn't have brought that up.
Yeah,
you
way to
alerted
go,
them,
Dan.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think where he's going is the college is going to change. Those that do some examination will be ultimately successful. Those that don't will start to fade, and also too competition outside the traditional university system, the bricks and mortar system. I think that's going to ultimately force change. May not happen tomorrow. But Heterodox Academy, Jonathan Haidt, and other academics putting that together, the Lambda schools that are focused on intensive training for specific industries like coding, I think are going to displace even some of the most prestigious names, and these scandals just expedite that.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.